Tips for Beginner Watercolor Artists, Part 1.5.
If you're ordering a set of watercolor pans, usually I would recommend student grade and not just craft grade. But when you're doing this, a lot of times there'll be a white paint in the palette. When I paint with watercolors, I never use white or pigment white at all. Pigment white meaning other pigments mixed with pigment white to make another color, like pastel colors. Out of the two, we're in a pan. So I think the inclusion of a white pigment in these like starter watercolor palettes is really misleading because most watercolor artists don't actually use white. This is because the strength of watercolors, in my opinion, is their transparency. To get lighter colors, you don't mix with white, you mix with water to make it more transparent and use the white of the paper to hold your highlights. In many watercolor paintings, the highlights that you'll see are actually just the white of the paper peeking through. Now, doing this does require a lot more planning in your sketching phase. You have to know what areas to avoid with your paints to keep them light. But there are some things that can help you with this, such as drawing gum or masking fluid. You put it down, then it dries, then you can paint over it. It's like a rubbery type material, and then you can peel it off afterwards and it'll leave the white of the paper or whatever light is underneath. You can put it on top of completely dry paint, but I don't do this super often just because I'm worried it's going to pull up the paint. You also want to do a patch test on your paper before you use it on an actual painting because some papers do not handle it very well and it will rip up your paper. You can also use masking tape for this if you want to cut it into certain shapes or you have larger areas you want to cover, but that is a little bit less reliable as sometimes the water gets underneath the tape. Like with any rule, there are exceptions, and I do agree that there are some watercolor artists that use pigment white very tastefully and very well. I personally don't like to use it. For me, I really like that transparent look of watercolor paintings, and to me that's the signature watercolor look. Pigment white often washes out your colors, so it will dull them down if you mix with them. It also just looks different than preserving the whites of your paper. Sometimes white paints will have a bluish hue, and you can tell that it's not the paper and it doesn't match. If you are looking for something that you'll use white paint more in, I would recommend gouache. It's still water mixable, but white is a very important pigment for that medium. You can use it to go back over, you use it in mixes. It's basically like watercolor if you were using a white paint. It's also much more opaque.